So it's the end of an era on Capitol Hill. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says that she will not seek a new term as the Democratic leader in the next Congress. She will, however, continue to serve her San Francisco district. Nikole Killion is on Capitol Hill to talk a little bit more about this. So, hey, Nikole, you know, at the top of the show, we sort of mentioned the list of potential candidates to replace her. Can you talk more about who those people are and what they bring to the table?
Yeah, well, first off, I mean, obviously, Speaker Pelosi really passed the torch, if you will, in her speech yesterday, saying that she does believe that it is time for a new generation of leaders to sit at the helm of the caucus, a caucus that she said she so deeply respects. And so in terms of some of the potential successors in Democratic leadership, you're looking at them, which includes Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, who currently serves as the Democratic caucus chair, Congresswoman Catherine Clark, who serves as the assistant speaker and is now officially putting her name in the hat for Democratic whip as of this morning, and Congressman Pete Aguilar of California, who currently serves as the vice chair of the Democratic caucus, but has also been a member of the Select Committee on January 6th. So, you know, this has been something that has been months, if not potentially years in the making in terms of trying to make this a smooth transition between leaders like Speaker Pelosi and Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, who said yesterday that he will not seek a leadership position in the next Congress, as well as South Carolina Congressman and Majority Whip Jim Clyburn, all of whom are in their 80s now, kind of giving their backing to this new crop of leaders.
So, you know, Pelosi is not the only senior Democrat that's stepping aside. I'm wondering if there is a feeling among a Democratic leadership that it is time to sort of allow a younger generation to move forward into the spotlight.
Well, I think the party is certainly at a crossroads, especially following the results of the election. You know, Democrats were hopeful that they might be able to hold on to the majority, even if just barely. But obviously, the results did not go their way. So it is a situation where everybody kind of does have to do some soul searching, certainly not just on the Democratic side of the aisle, but the Republican side of the aisle as well. But in terms of the speaker's decision, you know, she made clear that, you know, she will always have influence in some capacity, that she will continue to represent her district, as you mentioned. So she's not necessarily going anywhere right away, and is certainly likely to kind of give her counsel to these members, and would expect, you know, the other congressional leaders to do so as well.
You know, I remember when AOC and some of the other members of Congress, new young blood, were all elected. Initially, there seemed to be some sort of tension between Nancy Pelosi and some of the younger members of Congress, and then that simmered down. I'm wondering, though, if that was a moment when the party started to think about, well, what is next?
Well, to a certain extent, and I mean, look, you know, obviously, you know, many of these new leaders, whether you're talking about Jeffries, Clark, and Aguilar, certainly have the backing of a majority of members, but there are certainly some who may have their reservations even still, particularly some in terms of the progressive wing of the party. But at some point, you know, and even in the Senate, I mean, again, with a lot of these members getting up in age, it is a question that begs to be asked in terms of what comes next. And certainly, while these members are certainly entitled to serve for as long as they want to, you know, there does come a point where you have to start thinking about those types of changes, both in terms of leadership and generationally. But at the end of the day, you know, the Democrats insist that they will be a united caucus and a united front. And again, overwhelmingly, most members said that they are supportive of this new leadership team going forward.
All right, Nikole, thank you very much.